I'm really a primatologist. I work with great apes. And as the years went past, and counted them up, I spent most of my life with great apes, like from the late 70s till now. And the last part, I guess, the last 20 years, it was with African apes. And sometimes it's sort of funny when I'm, ever on Google, and I actually Google my name, and I actually have middle initials, so if I Google my full name, this doesn't show up, but Google Esteban Sarmiento, when this thing showed up, it said skeptic or advocate. There's more things on Google about Bigfoot and me than what I actually do. But I'm not really a Bigfoot specialist, but because I wasn't primatologist, people would come and ask me about Bigfoot. Because Bigfoot's hairy, supposedly it has breasts, and it's a mammal, and the way its limbs are, it would probably be a primate. So they want to know, is it a great ape, what is it? And to tell you the truth, I'm neither a skeptic or an advocate. I just heard people's stories, and I know a little bit about great apes, and I think with anything else, you have to make up your mind if you believe in it or you don't believe in it. All right? I can just tell there's a lot of evidence that the thing probably doesn't exist. At the same time, there's a lot of evidence that's pointing towards the creature existing. And one of the things that sort of convinced me is all the people that seem to have cited it. And let's put on the first slide. Okay? You can just go to the slide shows it's the map of the United States. They'll just come on. Okay. They'll just come on by themselves. What I did is I just took a map of the United States and I just sprayed paint into parts. And there's these areas around the states that are sort of hot spots. In eastern Texas, if you go to eastern Texas, southeastern, or almost part of Arkansas, are areas that you can go to. A lot of people plan to see. All right? And there's also that whole area, the northwest. And I don't know if you can see the little tip of that island out there is Vancouver Island. And just right through Vancouver, Seattle, right through those, outskirts of those cities there, all the way down through Oregon, all the way to Northern California. And people through those areas, especially you just fast right. Let's go this way. Maybe it'll be better. Go back to I was really surprised, but I was out there about 2 years ago, and we went up, probably north of the map doesn't see it, but that little lake you can see there north of Minnesota is Lake Winnipeg, and that area, even though it looks like a line, is really filled with thousands of small lakes. And lo and behold, there's a city there called Kenora. When we went out to Kenora has a big statue of Bigfoot outside the city limits. And it seems like everybody there has seen Bigfoot. And we were there maybe for, 2 days, and some of the Native Americans from the area, the women had reported seeing Bigfoot to look at it. And again, I found no evidence of it convinced me. And being that I worked on primates, I think there would be nothing short of actually having the body that would convince me. Okay, so people showing me footprints or showing me clumps of hairs and telling me stories. It doesn't really, I want to see the body. Once I have the body in my hand, then I'll be convinced. Then I'll be a believer. All right? Okay, so anyway, once you look at, I also spray painted this area here in southeastern Ohio. And that's another area that a lot of people that live there will swear that they have seen or have stories about. Now, aside from these areas that I showed you, it doesn't mean people haven't seen it all over the United States. I'm sure there's people here in Ohio that have seen it, outside Cleveland. That doesn't mean that doesn't exist. But what I tried to put on this map some areas, what I call hot spots that people continuously see it there. Okay? And there is other areas, but those areas are almost the ones, classically it's northwest, but even around Kenora, some of the sites go back before the sites go back before the 1900s. And the same thing, I believe, is in Ohio. There's a site in Ohio that goes back to 1890 something or another. All right. So Let's go on to the next slide. Yeah, and I just wanted to show you a little bit more like Vancouver Island, which is supposedly a hot spot. And when you see you can see like the Seattle area, it's pretty well traversed with roads, but when you get up to those areas like Vancouver and British Columbia up there, there really isn't much of anything. It really is, probably like the size of Ohio with no roads. And these are areas that are more believable for the animal to really exist in, and nobody to actually have picked it up or picked up a piece of it or ran it over with his car. Like, I guess one of the things that's frightening those people that don't believe it is with all the cars out there, and I hit skunks, I hit deer, I hit badgers, I hit a lot of armadillos down south, but I never seen anyone hit a Bigfoot. How come that's the case? Well, I guess in areas that are like with less roads, there's some justification for believing that it wouldn't get hit by a car. Let's go on to the next slide. Like, again, there's little maps of the, and this is the area, I guess if you can see there on the upper left side, there's a town there, Kenora, at the end of Route 72. If you go up north of there, you see there's really no roads. Can you see that right? It used to be called rat portage. It was a big muskrat, skin. I guess we're muskrat trapping for skin area. And that's why it was known as rat portage. And then they changed the name. They figured it didn't sound nice. And you can see all the lakes, all the small lakes there is in that area. And there's a logging business out there now. And a lot of the bush pilots, they fly float planes back and forth. And a lot of the bush pilots swear that sooner or later they see Bigfoot. Right? And Pennsylvania next to it, and you can see Pittsburgh there, right? You can see Columbus and Cleveland. And I spray painted that center. And that's an area, delimited by the Ohio River on the southeast. Can you see that? Yeah, the south, right? That area there is an area that here in Ohio has been, cited often as a Bigfoot area. That means people that live in that area. And if you can, you'll be able to see there's a place called Willis Creek, and we'll get back to it at the next slide. Let's go on to the next slide because I'll show you. Now, one of the things you can see is that there's a lot of roads here. So why isn't it that anyone ran over a Bigfoot or hit it with his car? And I guess there must be some people claim they had an accident because of the Bigfoot. But this is the Salt Fork, right? It used to be a creek. I guess they dammed it. And again, that's an area where Bigfoot is found repeatedly. And on the other side, there's Willis Creek Lake. And I was at both of these areas in May, and we did walk around. I didn't see any signs, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist because I didn't see anything. But there's a lot of people that have been to those areas. We just had Mark Ward, and he was around the Willis Creek Lake area, and he swears he saw something there. All right. Next slide. I think we should I wanted to show you that this area has always had roads. And I picked this map, it's 1960. So for 50 years they've had a lot of roads, and they've been well populated. So it wasn't just lately that they got that way. It's been that way for 50 years at least. And again, I guess the big road is still under construction. What's the name of that road that comes down? 77. 77, right? Right. All right. Let's go on to the next slide. Now I have a next slideshow, right? It's on the